Good morning everybody and welcome back to episode 218 of Enter Crypto, where twice a day I keep you informed and fully up to date on all things crypto. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then like, subscribe and click on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any future news, as I put out a new video every 12 hours. So the story of the morning, it's about energy, and it's about Bitcoin, and in particular Bitcoin mining. Now, I just quickly apologize about the orientation of this screen, sort of the screen grab that I do, that you can see. You'll see that it's off center and you can't read the whole of the title here, but you'll see why, because as I scroll down, you'll see as I scroll down, you'll see what I mean. Now, what we'll do, as always, I'll quickly read through the article and then we'll comment after. This article's a little bit longer, but it is an important topic, and so let's get stuck in. The real-world costs of the digital race for Bitcoin. Bitcoin mines cash in on electricity by devouring it, selling it, even turning it off, and they cause immense pollution. In many cases, the public pays a price. So just to remind you all, as you can see now, the text is coming to its normal format. And this is somebody's opinion rather than news, so it's important to know that before you go, because there will be some element of bias within it. So Texas was gasping for electricity. Winter Storm Uri had knocked out power plants across the state, leaving tens of thousands of homes in icy darkness. By the end of February the 14th, 2021, nearly 40 people had died, some from the freezing cold. Meanwhile, in the husk of a one-time aluminium smelting plant on an hour outside of Austin, row upon row of computers were using enough electricity to power about 6,500 homes as they raced to earn Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency. The computers were performing trillions of calculations per second, hunting for an elusive combination of numbers that Bitcoin's algorithm would accept. About every 10 minutes, a computer somewhere guesses correctly and wins a small number of Bitcoins worth, in recent weeks, about $170,000. Anyone can try, but to make a business of it can require as much electricity as a small city. In Texas, the computers kept running until just after midnight, then the state's power grid operator ordered them shut off, under an agreement that allowed it to do so if the system was about to fail. In return, it began paying the Bitcoin company, Bitdeer, an average of $175,000 an hour to keep the computers offline. Over the next 4 days, Bitdeer would make more than $18 million for not operating, from fees ultimately paid by Texans who had endured the storm. The New York Times has identified 34 such large-scale operations, known as Bitcoin mines, in the United States, all putting immense pressure on the power grid and most finding novel ways to profit from doing so. Their operations can create costs, including higher electricity bills and enormous carbon pollution, for everyone around them, most of whom have nothing to do with Bitcoin. Until June 2021, most Bitcoin mining was in China, then it drove out Bitcoin operations, at least for a time, citing their power use among other reasons. The United States quickly became the industry's global leader. Now, the article does go on, so I'll include a link to this, as I always do in all my videos, to basically so that you can go and further read if you choose to do so. But this asks the important question, as really what they're saying is Bitcoin mining worth it? Is it worth spending all this electricity, all this energy on it, especially when you've got sort of a winter storm, or you've got a local national disaster or a weather disaster or something like that, and you need that energy for something else? Is it worth mining it? And I think a lot of people are struggling with this now. It seems like, because when you actually work out how much energy Bitcoin uses, it does use a lot. It uses as much as a small country at any one time to keep itself going. And so people say, well, is that worth it? There's enough people using Bitcoin, and there's enough countries adopting Bitcoin for that to even could we not use that electricity better elsewhere to help with humanitarian aid, or to help with, or even if just you sold the energy, you would have a huge amount of money. Could we not give that to charities? And it's forcing the most important thing. I obviously don't know the correct answer to this. Nobody knows. But I think the important part of the question, and I'm by no means a Bitcoin maximalist. I hold lots of different altcoins, so just so you know my position as well, is that it's forcing people to think after this, what is energy? But more importantly, how do we spend energy? You know, we once you understand what energy is and its different forms, whether it's gas, oil, whatever, you know, liquefied natural gas, then you start to ask the question, how are we spending, how do we spend that energy? And Bitcoin is forcing people to think, is it worth it or not? And you start going, okay, well, we're going to go green, so we're going to you know, have solar panels everywhere. But you've got to make the solar panels, and they've got to be made out of, you've got to get batteries to store the energy. You've got to use things like cobalt, which is mined in terrible conditions in Africa. You've got lithium and all sorts of things that the mining's not as good as it should be, or it's not up to the same standards. You've got a lot of fatalities and injuries, work-related injuries in the mines, people dying. I mean, so the cobalt mining in particular in Africa, I'm sure it was Democratic Republic of Congo where it's mined mostly. It's just, you know, the conditions are just unbelievable. But it's one of the, I think it's only one of 3 places that cobalt's found in the world, and it's found in a very rich, you know, they have an abundance of it in that country, and so we need it for our iPhones. We need it for almost every computer, anything that has a computer or basically we need cobalt for. And so that's all your phones, that's all your laptops, all your computers that we all use in the Western world and across Asia and everywhere. We need it. So they have to keep mining it, and we need to keep it cheap. So, when I say me, I mean Apple and the Microsofts and the big things need to keep it cheap so that they can make the same profit margins, and that's leading to really horrible conditions. Now, when you start to look at energy and you start to look at solar energy, for example, there always seems to be a cost. So it's not just free energy. It's free once you've paid, but you need an initial investment. You need to, you've got to spend something to get the energy. Energy is not free. It's never ever free. It doesn't exist. So even if you are getting solar panels and it feels free, you've had to buy the solar panels, and they're not cheap. So it you know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. And so there's always a cost somewhere. Now the other thing you can think is, which is more important, I think, is to think, okay, well, we've got this energy, we can get this energy out of the ground, whether that be nuclear, whether that be coal, whether that be liquefied natural gas, oil, whatever it is that we're pulling out of the ground to use as energy, or solar even. How are we spending that energy? Because it costs a lot to get this out of the ground. How can it be spent more efficiently? So is electric more efficient than using diesel? That sort of question we should be going down. And instead of saying, oh, well, sort of demonizing oil, which is kind of what happens now because of the CO2 and because of the pollution, really we should be saying, well, if we're going to demonize oil, then we need to be critical of everything then, which would include solar. We have to say, well, where are we getting those elements from that we need to put in the iPhones and to put in the solar panels and to put into all these different things that we need to actually make a solar panel. And so I think it raises some important questions that we can all think about whether it's small, just in your home, how you're spending your electricity, or even bigger as a nation when you think about how your country spends and what sort of policy decisions the government makes in your country. You see, which way they want you to behave and try to manipulate you into a particular way by making by taxing petrol, for example, or benzene or gas, as you used to call it in America, and then, for example, helping you if you want to put solar panels. So they kind of punish you for doing one thing but reward you for doing another one, and it's the way that governments work, and they try to control a population. Control's not always about just throwing people in prison. It's much more subtle than that, and the government doesn't want to throw everybody in prison. It would much rather control you, so it gives you incentives and disincentives to basically make a decision for you. They make it so unattractive and so lucrative at one end, so unattractive at the other that it's obvious that which one you're going to choose. Just because you're incentivized to do so. So some important things to think about. Let me know your comments. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, or if I'm backing up the wrong, or if you think I'm totally mad. In the comment box below. It's always interesting to hear back from you all. Remember, everybody, to please subscribe to the channel, join my team, and I'll keep you updated on all things crypto every 12 hours. Don't forget to smash the like button if you feel you got value from this video, and I'll see you all in 12 hours time.